Okay, it's time for another Dishonesty of the gun control movement. This time featuring an episode from Dean Abidallah. So, before I get started, this is a case of a pot calling snow black. It's a variation of a term, or of a saying, a pot calling a kettle black. But in this case, you have the accuser accusing somebody of having a trait that they have so much more said trait in them that it's not even funny. I mean, it might as well be a pot calling snow white, black at this point. Now let's get started. Will the NRA's Wayne LaPierre ever stop lying? Well, will the gun control movement ever stop lying? Okay, so in 2008 he pretty much said that Obama wanted to confiscate guns and that Hillary wants to do the same thing too. That lies never end. Well, they never end from the gun control movement. And I'll tell you right now, Hillary and Obama in 2008 were both politicians running for elected office. In fact, Hillary's still going to be trying to run for an elected office. She announced her bid for presidency today. Neither of them can come out and say, we want to outright ban guns. The strategy is incrementalism. And they talk about the, in this paragraph here, they talk about the NRA convention where they said it, and they called the message a lie. Well, no, it's not a lie. There are a lot of Democrats out there that really see you not have a gun. And there's plenty of evidence to support that. If you look at guns with a history, I mean, and if you look at all their actions speak louder than their words, and we're going to get into that. No one in the Obama administration or any Democratic administrations ever tried to take law-abiding citizens' guns away. Funny, what happened with a bunch of veterans in Clinton? Over 100,000 veterans restricted their legal ability to own a firearm based on a reinterpretation of a wording of a 1968 law. And am I imagining things when a lot of New Yorkers got their firearms confiscated after the New York Safe Act went into effect? Same with some Californians after some of their newer assault weapons bans went into effect. Now, and what happened after Hurricane Katrina, or in the wake of Hurricane Katrina? That wasn't a Democrat. You're telling me that Ray Nagin wasn't a Democrat now? Oh, God. Even when President Bill Clinton signed in the 1990 the assault weapons ban in 1994, which expired in 2004, it grandfathered all the weapons and ammo. Get your terms right if you're going to write about a subject, dude. Produced or purchased before the enactment of the ban. Well, okay. Luckily, it expired in 2004. Otherwise, we'd probably fight to keep the grandfathered weapons in as is. But what happened to the person that wanted to buy one of these types of rifles in 1995? Took away their ability to do that. You know, there are now nearly 300 million guns in the United States. It would be impossible to take even a fraction of those guns away from the people. Outright ban, it'd be impossible. The author recognizes this part at least. And more importantly, the Supreme Court of the United States in 2008 interpreted the Second Amendment as a right bestowing a personal constitutional right to own a firearm. Well, first off, it didn't take a Supreme Court ruling for most of us to figure out that the Second Amendment protected a pre-existing right. And second, people on your side of the fence kicked and screamed about that ruling. You know, you tried to sit there and say, well, D.C. is an enclave, of course they can ban guns there. You know. And, by the way, y'all still try to mess up and misinterpret what Antonio Scalia said. the ruling in his opinion. He was sticking up for the NFA of 34. He wasn't sticking up for any new proposed assault weapons bans. And he says the NRA knows all this, but still look at the scare tactics employed this weekend. It's mentioned in Nashville. Okay, so look at the scare tactics employed in Guns with History. You gonna write an article on that too, Dean? Oh, and by the way, wasn't this the same convention that gun control advocates in the New York Times wrote that said they banned guns in that NRA convention? Despite the fact the convention center and the NRA did not prohibit members who had CHLs from carrying their handguns into that convention. And we go down. Okay. Down to the second to the last paragraph. By the way, I'm going to post a link to this so you guys can read the article yourself. I'm not going to go through and read all this crap right here. It's pretty clear, right? But the NRA claims that Obama wants to ban the use of firearms for home self-defense. Well, you know, you got to learn to write, dude. Seriously. And ban the manufacture, sale, possession of handguns. Okay, that's not an entirely in fact, that's not a baseless claim. They're taking that claim from a survey that Obama or his campaign staff, if you believe what Obama says, filled out. His handwriting was on the first page of the actual survey itself, and if Obama's campaign staff did indeed write that themselves, then they must believe he is in favor of the ban of manufacture, sale, and possession of handguns. And if his own campaign staff thinks that about him, or thought that about him, then what does that tell you about him? Okay. Alright, so, again, now they go down to this paragraph right here. Regardless of reason, the NRA is pivoting from Obama to Hillary. LaPierre stated this weekend convention that Hillary Clinton's been coming for decades. Hillary Clinton has met a gun control bill she did not support. Yep. I have never seen this woman vote down any gun control bill that's come across her in the Senate. She supported a national license and registration on firearms back in 2000, if I'm not mistaken. It is either that or the late 90s. But, yeah, it took Al Gore getting beat in 2000 on president before she really kind of backed away from the whole gun control issue. Though she did say, falsely, by the way, that universal background check would have stopped Virginia Tech, despite the fact that Cho went and purchased his firearms. He got a background check. You know, gee, there are a lot of lies coming from people in the gun control movement. Wonder why that is. Shoot. And I just love it right here, the second paragraph. The concept of gun grabbing makes me laugh. After all, Congress couldn't even muster the votes needed to pass the universal background checks for purchasers, and that had the support of 90% of Americans. Okay, dude, you wouldn't talk about dishonesty right here. First off, if it had supported 90% of Americans, it would have passed. And second, that 90% number came from a survey that didn't ask them about universal background checks, one. And two, it was a very biased survey. I mean, to the point where it was dishonest. And you're going to accuse us. You're going to accuse the NRA of being dishonest after this paragraph right here. And that bill failed only months after the horrific shooting spree at Sandy Hook Elementary that left 26 dead, including 20 children. Wow, really? Okay. First off, Adam Lanza's mother purchased those guns. She had a background check. Adam Lanza murdered her and stole those firearms. The Manchin-Tomei bill was not going to prevent that from happening. And you just pretty much pointed out the reason why people who support the legal ability in this country to own a firearm should be worried about our firearms and our legal ability to own those firearms. It's because it didn't matter that that law would not have prevented Sandy Hook. You guys were up in arms that you just couldn't get retributions on law-abiding gun owners because some mental patient, or somebody who should have been a mental patient anyway, murdered his mother, stole his mother's guns, and shot up yet another gun-free zone. Okay. I love the way he bitches and complains about Georgia, removing all the gun-free zones that they could, and 11 states passing laws intended to nullify future, or as he puts it, federal gun safety laws. And, you're going to call the NRA dishonest after that. Those aren't gun safety laws, dude. Those are gun control laws. There's a big difference. Okay, I'll give you an example. The NFA of 34. This is a pistol. Now, if I put a stock on it, it becomes an SBR. And if I don't do it going through the legal channels, that's a felony. Same way with putting a foregrip on there, which means I got to go fill out paperwork. I got to get it approved by the local sheriff. I got to get it sent into the BATFE. They've got to approve on it. I got to have it registered. I got to pay a $200 tax stamp for the stock. If it's just the foregrip, that's an AOW, and it's only a $5 fee. But still, and top that off, it has to be in a state that allows it to. Good Lord. You're going to call the NRA dishonest. And, no mention of the truth that every day 30 Americans are murdered by gun violence. You know what? I don't even know if that number's true. Second, I doubt this guy really even understands the reason behind their homicides or has taken any look at anything else. And, they died by gunshot wound? Oh, well, that must have been guns. Didn't have anything to do with their life choices. Didn't take into any other consideration. Maybe, they joined a gang. Hey, you join a gang, your life expectancy goes down. And the 53 Americans that use guns to commit suicide. Funny. Gun control groups in Canada touted the gun registry as a success of preventing suicide. They touted that their gun suicide rate went down, but what they didn't tell you is the overall suicide rate did not drop. People just changed their means to commit suicide. You want to talk about dishonesty here? Wow, Japan's suicide rate, by the way, dwarfs ours. And they have everything the gun control advocates here want and could dream of over there in Japan for gun control laws. You would think the NRA would make it a priority to reduce the number of Americans killed by firearms. Well, I believe they do. They just don't want to do it in your way. But it appears the NRA's priority is lying. Actually the gun control group's priority is lying. You're just pissed off that they won't cave into your demands. Which is an honest assessment of what this author's really trying to get at. He's just upset that he can't get the probably largest organization of gun owners in this nation to cave to his political will and to the political will of all the other gun control advocates.